Hello, happy Friday, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have, ladies and gentlemen, a fire show for you today. Now, just to give you the heads up, it is going to be a smaller show because my nephew Tyler I'm going to pick him up at noon. He's spending the weekend with us. He's listening. I know he's listening right now. So, Tyler, I'll be there at noon to get you. 90-minute show, but we have two fire topics to get into, a full panel, lots of big opinions, and some industry and community stupidity, which, again, if you would have heard me in the green room just, 5 seconds ago, it would not have sounded like the boomstick you know and love, because there were a lot of F-bombs, which I will not do live on the air, because, again, the stupidity, it's running wild like Hulkamania, and I don't even know what to do about it. It's just so bonkers how some people do this twisting and turning. I mean, the gymnasts that are running around in social media and in this community, they all have gold medals for a reason. I'm going to tell you that right now. But let's get into the introductions. Silent Cypher, you had a vacation. You look recharged. The voice is sounding prim and proper. How you feeling? Good morning.
Good morning, Boom. Good morning, chat. I'm doing good. Vacation was good. We were constantly nonstop. I did catch a little bit of a travel cold at the very end, so
everyone
I'm still recovering.
does. Yep.
But things were great. I will say I was really disappointed though that I brought my ROG Ally with me, and I did not touch that thing one single time during that trip because of how action-packed the whole vacation was. It was good, but I'm super stoked to be back because I started Still Wakes the Deep like right. I think it was right before I left. I think, and it's so good.
I beat it. I beat it yesterday. Yesterday, the day before. I'm playing through it again. I immediately rolled credits and started a second run in the Scottish accent. So I don't understand anything that's going on, but there's an achievement attached to it. So I'm going to play through the game in all of that dialect, and the game is just so good. What an amazing treat! And Xbox Game Pass on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I've got it on the normal dialogue, but it's funny because I have subtitles with it just to see like what the difference is, and it's pretty funny to see even just like where they break off from the subtitles versus what they're actually saying. It's funny to see those little like sayings and little slangs and stuff that they use. It's pretty great. But man, what an atmospheric game. I'm really looking forward to getting back into that some more this weekend. But it's good to be hanging out with you guys. It's gonna be an interesting morning. So let's go.
Yeah, you know what? You're a horror guy, and the best way that I could describe this, and I've done this online, I've done this multiple times. It is very reminiscent and pays a huge amount of homage to John Carpenter's The Thing, which, by the way, just turned 42. Like, I asked my wife, I'm like, is that movie actually 42 years old? Holy Yup. And sure enough, it is.
Makes
87.
Us so old real fast, doesn't it?
Dude, like, oh my God, unbelievable. But listen, great to have you back. Korkenstein, my brother, all the way from the West Coast, which, according to some people, is the best coast. What's going on, Korkenstein? How you feeling?
Hey, brother, I'm doing good. Actually, I'm more in the category of East Coast is the best coast. I just love going to the East Coast like at least once or twice a year. I try and get over there, and it's just the food, the beer. Man. Yeah, man, I'm doing great. Just all the craziness going on this week, but I can't wait to talk about it more later on tonight.
Yeah, we have a lot to get into, and yes, the food is good here, no doubt about it. Especially pizza. Pizza seems to be like tip of the spear when it comes to New York. Sorry, that's just a fact, folks. It's not being biased or anything. But hey, Fuzzy Belvedere, my brother, how you feeling? Welcome back. Great to have you here. What's going on?
Oh man, I'm glad to be here. Yeah, you're right on the pizza. As a former New Yorker now in Pennsylvania, New York pizza is the best. You have to have it folded with the wax paper so you catch the grease in the pocket. But we'll get into that some other time. But no, Xbox is it's firing on all cylinders now, and it's got some good stuff going. We're going to get into that. But yeah, there's some crazy talk like finding bad in something that doesn't have bad, and then not making mention of when bad stuff happens with where much older games drop into like a premium service that went up 40 something dollars for the year, and they really haven't seen any benefit. But we'll get into some stuff. I'm pretty sure we will. But this is going to be a fun Friday. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Well, I am going to say, and I want to continue to reiterate on it, that if Team USA is looking for gymnasts to fill their ranks, look no further than the PlayStation Nation, because holy cow, ladies and gentlemen, they twist and turn, and they are doing flippy flips and roundhouses. I don't even know. First of all, I'm just looking at how they move, and my back is killing me. Like, I'm just looking at them like, my God. How the H are you moving that fast and that well? Craziness. But look, what are we talking about? Well, yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the big news for Xbox was that they have partnered with Amazon Prime to bring Xbox Game Pass and cloud gaming to 200 million humans around the planet by simply connecting your Fire Stick to your TV, downloading Xbox, the app, signing in to your account using a wireless controller, and as long as you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you're good to go. Simple, makes a whole lot of sense, and now it does really answer a lot of questions as to what happened with Project Keystone. Well, we learned that it turned out that they couldn't get the price to where they wanted it. So instead of creating their own device, which of course would go against some partners, like if they create their own device, what does that say for the partnership with LG TVs and Samsung? It kind of maybe might put a strain on that, which makes perfect sense, right? So who do you partner with? Well, they started with Amazon. You understand that Roku is around the corner. That is literally an announcement that's going to be happening sooner than later, but we're specifically talking about the Amazon deal. So why is it a big deal? Well, here's the thing. They are trying to get to 3 billion gamers. And we talked about this numerous times about how Phil Spencer was clowned for saying that, oh my God, at 2 billion gamers, he can't get 10 gamers to play his console, right? And all of the work that he was doing all the way back into 2017 when Xbox Game Pass first released in summer of 17 is now starting to take fruition, starting to come to fruition. And this is just another step. Now, granted, there was a whole mess of pushback because of this announcement. And you know what's interesting? You got a lot of that pushback from PlayStation gamers calling this another L for Xbox. And I personally, I am baffled by this. I am perplexed. I don't even have a direction or an answer for why someone would consider, ladies and gentlemen, access to 200 million customers who may never have had any contact with Xbox or its platform a bad thing. Like introducing your wares to 200 million, and it's probably more than that. I think it was C Money pulled up. He did a quick Google search yesterday, and the 200 million mark was from 2023. He couldn't find the up to date numbers. Is it 225 million? Is it 250 million? Is it 300 million? I don't know. But it's a whole lot of people that have access to the Amazon Fire Stick that now will have access to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. How is that a bad thing? I honestly don't know. Some of the rhetoric that was going on yesterday was to the point of I'm actually embarrassed for some of these people. Now, again, no, we don't name names here, because we don't have to do that. If you want to go out and seek out the knuckleheads, you can go do that on your own. Here, we're just talking in general conversation. I'm going to go first to Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, look, Xbox, as we know, when you look at the console sales, are the lesser of the three, right? Switch and PlayStation. Switch is just dominating every NPD. They are tip of the spear. Sony has seen some slumping with their sales, but they're upwards of 50 plus million. I think it's 56. It probably is closer to 60 million PS5s out in the wild. That's great. And Xbox is probably somewhere in the middle. They're 35. Maybe they're closer to 40. And we have come to a point in this generation where, like, even Sony's own analysts have said they have already peaked with PS5, right? They've already peaked with their console sales. Now they're starting to go into decline. So how do these companies find new customers if the same group of people, gamers, just buy the next system and just buy the next system? And occasionally you'll get some newer sales because there's a particular game that someone that was maybe a 360 or a PS3 user is like, oh, look, the new game, I'm going to buy that. And they go and they buy it. How do you find new customers? This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you do it. And again, shout out to Paris Lily. Shout out to Jez Corden of Windows Central. Shout out to Danny Benya of Gamertag Radio. They were all out there, just as shocked as I was. Like, even Jez Corden was going back and forth with people. How is this a bad thing? How is this a console war thing? They're finding new customers. It is wild to me that this is even a conversation, but it's one I am definitely happy that we are having. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, as far as the PS gymnasts out there, I think I know why they're trying to make this seem like it's a bad thing, because you don't need a console. Oh, no wonder they're not selling. Okay, let's think about this. Consoles, as of today, at best, you can get the Series S for around $200, $250 when you catch it on a good sale. It's a $300 console. Series X is a $500 console. You might be able to find it for $450 on occasion, sometimes as low as $400 range, closer to like the holidays and stuff. They have some newer SKUs coming out with varying prices in between. That's still a pretty big bar, or high bar, for entry. Like, getting somebody to spend a couple $100 and then spend either money on the subscription or the individual games is the, I guess you could say, the speed bump in getting more people in the door. If you can eliminate that with something either they already have in their living room or something that's like $40, and then they can just partake in some of the games, whether they do the subscription or they can play Fortnite, which, by the way, if they play Fortnite for free there and buy some skins, Microsoft still gets a cut. All right, Amazon gets a little cut, Microsoft gets a cut, Epic gets a bigger cut, obviously, but everybody wins as far as businesses are concerned. But that's your easier way for, I would say, a generation that doesn't care where they play, whether it's on their phone, on their tablet, on their PC, on their TV now. They don't really care about having a box attached to the TV as much. They don't really care about having a PC, although they would probably prefer to have a PC over a console. But in the grand scheme of things, they just want access to their games. They're in the mood to play a game. They want to have access to it now. Go have at it and have fun. If they don't have the wherewithal to get the console themselves, or the parents haven't picked up one, but they already have this, Firestick in the household, this is the easiest way to, like, Mom, can I, get a controller, or can I use my old controller from my old PS4 even to play some games on the TV? And it's like, well, we don't have a console. Oh, I can just use the Firestick. It's an app and it's free, other than when I buy skins or, stuff like that, or season passes. But, that's the win, where you're getting more people to your ecosystem by lowering the bar of entry. That's the biggest thing. But PlayStation cats aren't going to want to see it that way. They're going to want to see it where, well, PlayStation sold 60 million consoles, or supposedly, or whatever the case is. But it's like, well, all of you enthusiasts that have like 2 or 3 PlayStations in the household, that's still one household. You're not buying games per, console. So it's like, great, you're selling hardware. That's awesome. I'm pretty sure Sony thanks you for that investment. But in the grand scheme of things, it's always better to have people either constantly paying a subscription, like reoccurring income, or constantly playing or buying software, which is usually where you make your most money, the biggest profit margins, and things along those lines. So yeah, the gymnasts are going to always try to, claim their W and that this is an L in some way, shape, or form. But like you said, if you have now access to a new possibly all new group of 200 million plus. Although, yes, let's admit, some of us probably have, a Fire Stick in our house already and have an Xbox, but there's a good bit of people that don't. Like I said, if there's, 40 some million series consoles out there, but you're having access now to 200 and almost 50 million people, well, that leaves you at least some sort of gap of like, 210 million or so, or let's just say 200 million people that you didn't have access to before. And that's where you're going to grow your business, because they always talk about how do we expand this market, considering consoles always seem to hit this brick wall of 200 million sold across all the brands that are out there. If it doesn't really grows, it just kind of contracts a little or expands a little, but it's like it's still in that bubble. But yet there's millions, if not billions, of phones out there, millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of PCs out there. This is just another way to get another screen that you now have access to that customer to spend money in the ecosystem. And it gives access to those that may have not had anything more than like Luna, where it's like 1 or 2 games that they would get for free being a Prime member or something like that. Now they have another way of having access to additional games and things along those lines. So we'll see where this goes, but I can't see how you see anything wrong in it, in the sense that you don't need hardware anymore. Let's move on from, console sales are king. No, it's software and services are king when it comes to these businesses, and keeping them healthy. This is the way you do it. This is how you grow your base. Sony will eventually do something like this. As you see, they're a few years behind courting the PC crowd, but this is Microsoft. They're known for software and services. So of course, this is their type of move. And by the way, FTC not being that cloud over their head gives them more room to do more stuff like this.
Yep.
Just saying.
I mean, there's a reason why they wanted specifically Activision. We don't know about King, but Call of Duty is tip of the spear. And listen, let's welcome in Paris Lily. What's up, brother? Good morning, man. It's super early where you are. I don't know whether you guys recorded on Kind of Funny today, because I know that you guys were sitting down with the game director and the game designer for Avowed. I cannot wait to catch it up. But good morning, brother. How you feeling?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you doing? So as for that, you just quick mention, we're doing that live. So that'll be at 11 a.m. today.
Okay.
We'll
Nice.
have Carrie Patel on talking about Avowed. So yeah, really looking forward to that conversation. But it was funny. I literally just clicked on the link on your show. And it's like Beetlejuice. It was like Beetlejuice. I heard my name. So I was like, you know what? You're talking about something that was obviously a hot topic yesterday. And I don't know if you saw the video I put out real quick, because I had
that's why I specifically mentioned you, because you were going back and forth with Jed's Court, and I saw Danny Pena jump in as well. He kind of dropped his bars. I don't understand how this is a bad
it's
thing.
Not.
Dude.
It's not. And here's the thing. This is not new.
No,
None of this is new. We've actually been talking about this. We were talking about this on XCast years ago. Gary was the first person to bring up. He goes, eventually they're going to get that Xbox app on smart TVs. They're going to get it on, basically like a USB stick or whatever, right? In other words, exactly what the Amazon Fire Stick is. They're going to put that app in as many screens as they possibly can. He said this years ago. And if you think about it, they'd already done this with the partnership with Samsung. I mean, I reviewed the Samsung TV last year, and that thing's been around for a couple of years, right? The Xbox app is built in. GeForce Now is built in. You can cloud stream on it. So they were obviously testing their own thing with Keystone. They couldn't get the price where they needed it to be. And it was so ironic. I had said just the day before when Jez broke that news, I go, they need whatever they wind up doing. It needs to be an entertainment box first and a cloud device second. I said something like similar to the Apple TV or the freaking Fire Stick. I literally said it the day before, and then they announced it. If anything, they don't have to worry about creating their own hardware. A lot of people already have this Fire Stick. So you make a partnership with Amazon. They're probably going to wind up doing one eventually with like a Roku. I can see other TV manufacturers like LG and TCL and things like that. Get that app on as many hardware devices as you can. And then you're making it more accessible to more people. You're making it more convenient for people that want to try out cloud gaming. And here's the other thing, and this is why I made that video yesterday. People are acting like Xbox is telling you cloud gaming is the primary way that you're going to play games. They are not. They never have. It is a supplementary way. It is an alternative. You are not forced. Yeah, you are not forced to use it. If you don't want a cloud stream, because right now the tech isn't necessarily where it needs to be from a latency standpoint, it's obviously usable, but it's not one-to-one to having a local hardware sitting on your television. You can still go buy a console. You can play it on the PC. No one's telling you you have to cloud stream a game, but it's awesome to have that option. I use it every now and again. I even said in the video, ironically enough, they still need to improve the service. I think GeForce Now is better.
Yeah.
You know, it does more things than cloud gaming does, but at least it's there. At least they're getting it on more devices. They're getting it in front of more people. The example I use all the time is my wife. My wife's not a gamer. But if you make it easy enough that all she has to do is pick up that controller, click on the app on the TV, and start playing, how is that a bad thing? And this is where, like, again, the whole back and forth debate, the console war nonsense and all that comes into it. PlayStation will eventually do the same exact thing because they already do cloud streaming of their games. They already technically have an app. Hell, you can put that PlayStation app on your Steam Deck right now and do it. Why wouldn't they also partner with other manufacturers and get that PlayStation app on there? It's another way to interact with games. It's another way to have engagement. So these arguments that Xbox, they're abandoning consoles or abandoning hardware is just simply not true. I mean, logic. That's why I said to one person, and it just annoyed me. I'm just going to be honest. He quote tweets me and goes, "I'm saving this," because I just said this is a smart move by Xbox. And he's going, "I'm saving this." Yeah, because I'm like, what are you saving this for? Are you going to wait 2 years from now and go, see, it failed? Did you win the internet championship belt? It's like, these are the ridiculous arguments that you have online about this stuff. It's supposed to be about playing games. If you give me another avenue, another option on way I can play a game that I enjoy, I'm not going to say no to that. Why would I? It doesn't make sense that people continuously want to argue about this stuff. If you don't want a cloud stream, don't do it. Go buy a console or go buy a PC and play the game that way. So I don't know. I just wanted to chime in on that really quick because I think it's such a ridiculous argument. Xbox, this is not brand new from Xbox. They've been talking about this for multiple years. And it just so happened, obviously, they didn't come out with their own hardware. They partnered with someone that already has the hardware in a bunch of homes. It's just smart. And I guarantee you they're going to do this with Roku. It just makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, listen, again, when I saw some of the commentary, especially after the video that you made, I found it hilarious that you take your wares. Right. Let's not forget this. Forget this Xbox. You are a business. You are taking your wares to potentially 200 million new customers. I'm not saying everyone is going to use it, but what if they get 5 new million Xbox Game Pass subscribers because of bringing it there? Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20 million. I don't know. But if you have an ability, if you tell someone, hey, you can. And they're going to use Call of Duty. I'm telling you, it's going to be here, there, and everywhere. They're already doing it here in New York. It's on every billboard when I'm going down the highway. You go to 42nd Street. You go to the center of Manhattan. It's plastered everywhere. The game doesn't come out until October. They know exactly what they're doing. You're going to get people that used to have 360s and PS3s and Wiis and going to see this and be like, oh, all I got to do is hook up my controller. And you're going to get new customers because of games like Call of Duty, Hellblade, Starfield, things of that nature. I don't understand how I saw, again, I said it in the opening, Paris, the gymnastic professionals that were flipping around all over on social media yesterday. I was embarrassed for some people, honestly. Again, no names here, but wow. I don't know how this is a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. And look, I know this is a failed thing I'm about to say because it's not going to happen. But I just wish we could get back to just talking about the actual games themselves
Yep.
And this new technology and services that enhances our experience playing these games versus this back and forth gotcha, doom and gloom stuff, because this announcement was not doom and gloom. This has absolutely nothing to do with Xbox making hardware. Right. Just doesn't, because it's an option. And I will say it again, this is not new. No one was outraged when they did the Samsung partnership a few years ago. Why all of a sudden are you outraged today? It's technically the same exact thing. It's the Xbox app on a hardware device that you can go to the app, Bluetooth controller, you can play the game. That's all it is. So I don't know. People, it's the internet, and we have to remember this is a small representation of the overall gaming audience. Most people probably saw it and was like, oh, neat, and moved on about their day. The people that are essentially engagement farming over this are just doing it because they want people to pay attention to them. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, listen, Paris, we appreciate you stopping by. I am super stoked. Now, that's 11 a.m. our time, East Coast,
Pacific.
Oh, it is Pacific. So, okay, so it's later on in the afternoon, which is excellent. I know you're looking forward to that, brother. That's going to be. Are they going to be showing new gameplay potentially?
No. We're and God, I don't want to screw his name up. Hold on, super quick. While we're talking about this, I don't want to screw it up. We are talking to, God damn it, where is his name? I don't want to screw it up. We are talking to Carrie Patel, and she's the game director for Avowed, and then we're talking to Gabe Paramo. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He's the gameplay director for Avowed. And we're doing that at 11 a.m. Pacific today on Kind of Funny. It'll be live. I know we'll probably at least go for an hour, I would assume. So should be good. It'll be myself, Greg, and Andy. And we're just going to dive into Avowed. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good game this year. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And again, I don't know if they're going to confirm the leak date, whether or not that's still November or not. But
doubtful. Highly doubtful.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely. But listen, we listen. I'm a big fan of Greg and those guys over there. Of course, love the work you do there and what you continue to do with the community, brother. Thank you so much for stopping by and giving your hot take, because I liked the video yesterday. It was really well done, and it kind of explained what you just explained here, but. People are just, they're just such knuckleheads sometimes. I'm just embarrassed for some people, Gareth. I'm sorry.
I hear you. But no, I appreciate you having me up, though. You have a good rest of the show.
And thank you so much for stopping by, brother. Super appreciate that. That's Paris Lilly, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be later on today at 11 a.m. Pacific time, sitting down with the gameplay director and, of course, the actual game director of Avowed. That is going to be great. That's going to be done on Kind of Funny. And again, I don't know whether you're a fan or not. I am a fan, have been a fan for years. Listen, I want to bring in Silent Cypher to continue this conversation. But before we actually get there, I got to catch up on the Super Chats. There's been ridiculous amounts of them. And I want to just get those out of the way because I don't want to forget anybody. First of all, Will Broke Boy Lewis drops a very generous $5 Super Chat. He says, got my coin yesterday and the little extra you added, thanks. Now that I had to order that Xbox bomber jacket so I can use them. And shout out to you, Will. Again, I had a few extras, and I let the picker pick the winners. Those patches, and obviously Corkenstein knows exactly what I'm talking about. You can only get those patches if you were at the event, which is the Xbox Game Showcase. They gave me a couple extra to share with the community, which I've done. And congratulations. And of course, not to be outdone, Will has gifted, ladies and gentlemen, 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Brother, that is outrageously generous of you. Thank you so much for the support. We super appreciate it. He's done that, my goodness, countless amount of times. Thank you again, Will. Sneck, I think it is, S-N-E-K, if I'm saying it wrong. Thank you so much for being here, brother, and thank you for the generosity. He drops a very generous $5 Super Chat and says, boom, I love you and the show. And I appreciate that, brother. He says, also, let's try and find some alternatives to Tip of the Spear and use them. All love. Keep up the great work. Listen, if you have a good one-liner that I could use better than Tip of the Spear, by all means, send it to me and I will give you credit and use it. Thanks so much, brother. Super appreciate that. Will Broke Boy Lewis, who's been a channel member for a month himself, says, P.S. fanboys, think that this is bad because they have been trained by PlayStation to believe that if it isn't based on consoles, it's a downgrade to gaming. And that's the truth. I mean, look, Sony is stuck in old ways. Now, I know that some people be like, well, what about Nintendo? Let's not talk about Nintendo. They are Nintendo is gonna Nintendo and always be where they are. They have a new console coming out. They have a bunch of incredible. I'm telling you, man, their launch lineup is gonna be thick. And I'm telling you, it's going to be much more than what we saw. Supposedly, we're getting a new F-Zero, a new a 3D Mario. Obviously, we could get. I don't think it's going to be at launch, but a Mario Kart is definitely around the corner. A new Smash Brothers is around the corner. These are games that have just sold bank for Nintendo. So don't worry about Nintendo. They're going to be fine. PlayStation, on the other hand, they're in a bit of a whether you want to admit it or not, ladies and gentlemen, they're in a pickle. They are in a content drought. We have no idea when their next big one or their banger is going to release, and all they have for us, and I say us because I have a PS5, is games like Concord, which is going to flop. All you have, Fair Games. Is that going to be anything more than what we saw? I don't know, but they banked real heavy on the games as a service, and I don't think it's going to work out for them. I just don't. But we'll see what happens. Dreadful Sean drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "How long until it comes to a Luna device, Xbox everywhere?" That's very interesting. I would imagine that announcement is around the corner, because why wouldn't it? Like I said, I think Paris made mention, and I also said it. Roku's around the corner. If they're going to partner with Amazon, Roku is as big as the Amazon Fire Stick. I could see them going there as well. This is great news for Xbox to push their wares onto customers that would never buy an actual Xbox. Your baby's father drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "As I've said, every new Fire Stick is now also an Xbox. I'm counting them as a console sale, just like Sony did with the Portal. Have a great day, guys." And indeed, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, you could logistically buy this Fire Stick, the new one, like the one that just released this year, for $40, and you plug that into your TV, and maybe you don't have a wireless controller. I mean, look, I have the one I was showing you. This is for the Samsung TV. This one is as good as an Xbox controller. It feels exactly the same thing. It's phenomenal. You just press the button, the power button, you go right into the app, and you're playing your Xbox. It's great. I'm actually going to do a video on how easy it is. I'm going to probably produce that next week and just throw it up on the channel. Again, it's going to be short, maybe a couple of minutes, 5-6 minutes of showing you how it works and showing actual like real live gameplay. And I'll let you know when I'm going to do that. But excuse me. Thank you so much, your baby father, for the very generous $5 super chat. And we also have, let's see, Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $2 super chat. He goes on to say, "Sadly, choice scares people and they act illogical." I mean, yep. I don't want to be boxed into a corner to pick, to be told this is it. You pick this. Wait, I don't have a choice. No, this is it. Why would you want that? I don't understand it. But unfortunately, a lot of Sony gamers have that small-minded mentality where it's just what they put in front of you. No, ask for better. Be a smart consumer. But unfortunately, there are lemmings in this world that just follow aimlessly in a line like knuckleheads. JJ Saying 117 drops a very generous $2 super chat. JJ, welcome back, brother, and thank you for the generosity. He says, "Ponies are desperate for Xbox to die." Well, listen, that's not going to happen when you are the largest gaming publisher in the world. And you know what? After this FTC shenanigans, and you heard King David recently talk about it, they're going to buy someone else, and it's going to be big. And we'll see what happens when they own a Square or a Capcom or a Sega. And when that happens, the chances of Xbox dying have become slim to none. And I believe that already. But Silent Cypher, let's get you into the conversation. I mean, you heard Paris, you heard me, you've already heard Fuzzy Belvedere. I don't see this as a bad thing. I see this as consistent growth. And when you are outreaching to new customers, I don't know, and I don't have a business degree to, to back up my opinion, but kind of sounds like a good idea. Let's get your hot take.
Well, yeah, I first off, I have to agree with all you guys, right? Like there's more positive to this than there is any negative. And I look at this and Microsoft, just like they came out and they said back in the day, they want to get their consoles, they want to get their games, they want to get all those things out to as many people as possible. So what do? You diversify the way that you're approaching the market. You open up different markets. You make it so you have access to your service everywhere possible. They've been talking about this for a long time, and Paris touched on it too, right? They've been saying this for a long time. And a lot of people out there saw it, saw the writing on the wall. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as when Xbox went PC and everyone's like, oh, well, Sony's never going to do that. But now, as we see it, Sony is starting to do that. Some plans take a little while to end up folding out, right? But like Microsoft wanted to get out to the markets, they specified this back in the day, and granted some of our infrastructure in some of the different areas, be it the States, be it international, whatever. Cloud takes a little while for you to get fully ramped up. They've been working on it, obviously, as we can see over time. It takes time to get this stuff up and running fully, but they're doing it. And it may take a little while for them to get full saturation the way that they want, but decisions like these, pickups like these, going on to Firestick, going on to Roku, going on to things like that, that's how you do it. You get out to as many people as possible in the market, in the process. And there's a couple things with this whole situation coming up yesterday that kind of come to mind, right? So we talk about the fact that there was a lot of engagement farming. And I think that's primarily the reason why we saw so much aggressive backlash towards this yesterday. Is it's really people just trying to catch the wave and trying to get as much attention as they can while it's a hot topic. Maybe some people out there are actually earnest in their concerns or their frustration. I don't know how, but if you are, I mean, that's fine. But for the most part, from what I saw yesterday when I was online and I was catching up on things, it looks like a bunch of grifters just trying to get attention when they could get attention. And I saw some names out there that I was kind of surprised were even out there jumping on the bandwagon. But you know what? That's their decision. If that's what they want receipts out there for later on, that's their problem. Another thing is, like, we go back to it, right? They're diversifying the ecosystem, making it so you can access this from more points of service. How is that a bad thing? And I'll put it this way. How is that a bad thing for me as a customer? Because now if I have more points of engagement, more points of interaction with this brand that I already enjoy the ecosystem in anyways, it's a good thing for me to be able to jump onto my Roku, onto my Amazon Fire Stick, onto my TCL, like whatever, you name it. If I can access those things in more places, how is that a problem for me? And how is it a negative thing for more people to be able to play video games? I feel like it's a short-sighted argument by these people that are throwing a fit about it. Why would I be upset that more people get to play the games? That's not my problem. If more people play games, that's not a bad thing. And I would also argue if they're multiplayer games, that's even better because that means you have a more robust group of people that are online at all times filling those lobbies. So when you play games, you constantly have people playing those games. Again, not a bad thing. Another thing that I do want to say with this, right, is so obviously as you diversify and as you expand out your service over these different ecosystems, yeah, maybe you're not going to sell as much hardware. But I would argue just because they're not selling that hardware does not mean that this is a misstep. They're getting more Game Pass subscribers in the process, but guess what else they're also selling on a regular basis as they do these moves? Controllers.
I
And you and I
knew
both,
that is exactly where you were going. Yup.
you and I both know with how much they advertise and promote new controllers every time one comes out, they make a sweet penny off of every controller that they sell, right? The return on investment for them making those controllers is probably massive. I'm sure their revenue on those things is insane because realistically there's not that much there. So like they're probably making a very good amount off of probably making 75% or more off of a controller when they make it. And so what will they do? They'll continue to make more and more controllers. They'll continue to make it so you have more ways to play those games on those different ecosystems. Controllers aren't going anywhere. They will keep making them because just like when everyone kept buying Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and they kept releasing it on all the different systems, if you buy it, they will keep making it. And since they know that they're going to make revenue off of those controllers, they will keep making more and more. And now that they've got more people joining the ecosystem, it's cash in pocket no matter what. I think the biggest thing of this whole situation is a lot of the people out there were engagement farming, but also I think a lot of people have a hard time with the fact that Xbox is basically going everywhere. And that makes a lot of ponies and that makes a lot of people very upset. At the end of the day, like when I saw that stuff yesterday, we talk about going back to just like keep it gaming, right? Yesterday, when I saw all this stuff, it's like, man, all these people are getting so upset over something so stupid, or they're trying to engagement farm on this thing that's just so pointless and isn't a bad thing at all. You know what I did? I turned off my phone and I went back over to playing Still Wakes the Deep. Because at the end of the day,
Good,
you
sir.
can get your crap in a bunch about the fact that more people get to play a video game, but when I'm done looking at your silly takes, I go back to playing the video games.
And it's a good point. Yes, play video games, ladies and gentlemen. Don't play Twitter, which is why. And again, this is a little slanderous, but obviously it's not a conversation that we're gonna have. I just want to throw it out there for some fun context. Why was only 1 million copies of Stellar Blade sold when it was produced by again? If you look at some of the rhetoric and some of the conversation, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the same people that come out here and talk about sales didn't go out and buy the freaking game. Like, if it's that good of a game, why didn't you buy it? So,
boom. How many PS5s sold again?
I think it's upwards. The last time I checked, it was like 56 million. I would say it's probably around 60 million. I mean, I could do a quick search.
Okay, and the game reached 1 million.
1 million. It's a very low percentage. It's not good. I saw some people trying to defend that. That's a good sales number. It's not a good sales number. It's just not.
And you and I both know. Let's call a buck, right? In this situation, if Microsoft had just hit 1 million, because I'm pretty sure they threw a bunch of blowback at Hellblade too. Oh, 2 million, blah blah blah. That if Xbox just hit 1 million with Stellar Blade and it were only on Xbox, they would have torn them apart.
Yeah,
1 million, that's nothing. Even though it's a smaller ecosystem than PlayStation, mind you. 1 million, that's nothing.
right.
Let's go ahead and keep that same energy on both sides, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. Corkenstein, brother, thank you so much for waiting. We super appreciate that you're here, but I want to get your hot take on this because this is one of those conversations, and obviously, Paris chimed in, so we appreciate him popping on for a bit. It is a bit of a conundrum. Access to new customers should always be looked upon as an advancement in your business. How this was turned into a negative as if Microsoft, you see, they're not making consoles. Who said that? Where did you get that? I mean, Sarah Bond said that the next console that they're making is going to be leaps and bounds bigger and more powerful than anything they've done before. What happened to that? Did we forget about that? No, it's ridiculous, but I want to get your hot take on it.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been saying this for the last 2 months, 3 months that I've been on, that people are engagement farming purely just to engagement farm. Dooming is a big, rage baiting is a big thing for clicks. It's absolutely silly. The one thing people keep not acknowledging is look at the PlayStation leak. We learned from that. Exclusives don't sell. They're not the revenue driver people thought they were. Same with hardware. Console market is not, it's not necessarily drying up, but it's hitting a roof. It's starting to hit that glass ceiling right there. And they're trying to find new ways on how to break through with not having to deal with selling more consoles in that sense. So what do? You expand to other ecosystems. I've been saying this for the last 3 months. You branch out, you start going multi-platform with some of your live service games. You start going to Amazon Firestick. It's insanely frustrating that people constantly ignore the PlayStation leak and brush it off when that was the most telling thing on where the industry was going to head in the future. I see the same people, and a lot of it is grifting, but there's also a lot of antiquated thinking in the sense where I've seen a lot of people I actually respect that are kind of on the opposite side, that they still think consoles and exclusives are the way to go. And it's just not. We're in the new age. It's not where it needs to be for any business to be. Both sides are going to be fine. PlayStation's going to be fine. Xbox is going to be fine. For at least the next few years, if they don't, if they curve their business like Xbox is doing. But it's just, it's just not where it needs to be for businesses to see the future. And Xbox got a lot of crap, but they always get a lot of crap. They're always ahead of the curve. And, we always see the same thing. PlayStation ends up, okay, like you were right. They never say it. They just announce it, and it's like, oh, okay, you're just following in Xbox's footsteps. It's happened for years. It's just frustrating. But back to what I was saying, I've seen a lot of antiquated thinking where people think consoles and exclusives are the way to go. And it's not. Some of these people on Twitter, if they ran Xbox, and I've said this before too, if they ran Xbox, they would bankrupt it in less than 24 hours. It's so silly. And I get it. Like, you want exclusives, you want,
right.
Yeah, you want exclusives and you want these consoles, but it's just, you have no idea about the sense of what it takes to run $1 billion business, let alone Microsoft, who's running $1 trillion business. They've made that money because they get ahead of the curve. So with that, I just feel it's silly to, I take my Fire Stick with me when I travel for work or when I go to vacations. I don't log into people's TVs on my own account. I just bring my Fire Stick, plug it into the back of the hotel. Yeah, and what I used to do is actually do the remote gaming. So I would bring my controller and then cloud game through remote screen on my tablet or whatever it is, or through my phone, through the Fire Stick. Now I don't have to do that. I can natively just plug in my Fire Stick and I have Game Pass. It's just, the last thing I'll say about this too is this is where, like you said, the Stellar Blade, 1 million, we learned exclusives. Sony hurt themselves. They had high cost, and very, very low margins. And that's, it's just, they didn't sell what they needed to sell to make the money back. There wasn't the ROI there. It was bare minimum to make what they had to. And with that, sorry, I just got a complete brain fart on that.
That's all right, brother.
With the exclusives, oh damn it, I had a really good point with this and I just completely lost it.
That might be that COVID fog, bro. Like, honestly,
I mean, you remember I got the from Game Fest. We'll just move on. I don't want to take up the time. I know you got some time limited, but there's just, with the exclusive stuff, it's just silly.
It is. Look, Xbox knows what they're doing. They're not getting away from consoles. If you want a console, if you are hoping and praying to the gaming gods that, yes, there's going to be a next-gen console, Xbox is going to deliver that ×2. You're going to get a handheld potentially next year, and you're going to get a new console in 2026, which is supposed to be the greatest things that we've ever played. So all I can say is that there is a lot to get excited about. This is just for people who are like us. Like if you want to go play, like a perfect example is Corkenstein literally just spelled it out for you why this is an important thing. He travels. When he goes and he travels, instead of signing in on foreign equipment that you're not familiar with, that you don't want to make sure that your stuff isn't staying behind, you take your little stick, you plug it into your TV, you sign in secured, and you're playing your Xbox Game Pass with a stick and a freaking wireless controller. Now, is it going to play great? Well, I don't know. Have I played cloud gaming and it's worked really good? Sure. Has it worked shitty in some aspects? Absolutely. But they're going to get to a space where this thing is running as good as the GeForce Now. And why? Because, well, they're partnered with them, and I'm sure they're going to share some information, and eventually xCloud and Xbox Game Pass is going to run as good, potentially even better. So I'm not worried about that. But, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to move on to the next topic. Look, and this one is, it's not that it's a hypothetical topic. It is a topic that we have some information, further information from coalition, and maybe some suggestions on where things are going when it comes to Gears of War E-Day. But let me just make sure I'm caught up on those super chats, and then we will move forward with that. We have Palmoro, who drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says, PlayStation are in serious trouble. I'm sure that too much is paid to CEOs with Sony. It's killing them along with their exclusivity deals. They are losing. Listen, they're the market leader today. How long that continues is really up in the air. Microsoft keeps pushing forward, and they are now on their back heels. This is not a console war conversation. This is a reality conversation, ladies and gentlemen. They are on their back heels. They are directionless. They don't know whether they want to go single player, story driven, over the shoulder games, or they want to be Concord and fair games and everything else. They don't know. They have no identity right now because they're not putting out any real games. They have not put out any of their, traditional bangers in quite a while. And that's an absolute fact. And while Microsoft continues to make moves here, there, and everywhere on cloud gaming, with PC, with acquisitions, with Xbox Game Pass, Sony is kind of sitting idle. And they are, like I've said many times before, they're in a pickle. And if you don't want to admit that, that's fine, but it is what it is. Elemental PO, generous friend of the program, who's been a channel member for a whopping 27 months, says this. Should Xbox go for small, medium, or large devs? Well, there are a couple of caveats to that question, Elemental PO. For me personally, I would like to see them bring in-house Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, the studio that's taken over for Killer Instinct. Why they just opened up a new studio? Why can't I think of their name? Bloody H. I was just reading the article. Smaller studios like that are currently People Can Fly, I think would be a great addition to Xbox Game Studios. Publishers, that's really up in the air. Do they want to take on another publisher? I don't know. Will they? They probably will, to be honest with you. And is it going to be in Japan? After the closure of Tango, I don't know how that sits with that region of the world, whether that's going to hinder them in potentially buying. They're not going to buy Capcom. Capcom is just too powerful. They have too many good games. They've done so well. They are the least that would consider being sold. Sega, maybe. Square Enix is making a lot of big changes, and I think that maybe the next big change for Square Enix is going to be being acquired. But we'll see about that. Thank you so much for the generosity, brother. We super appreciate the support. And Heisman drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he goes on to say, "Love the show, Boom. Not video game related, but look at what WWE is doing with Netflix. Raw will be on there now. January, the industry is changing. I didn't even know that. I haven't watched wrestling in years. My favorite wrestling era of all time is the 90s, like WCW, NWO. That is for me, peak wrestling. And of course, the Attitude Era with the WWE, which was back then the WWF. I haven't watched it in years. But that's pretty dope, dude. Thank you so much for the generosity, but thank you for the info. Listen, I'm gonna go right back to Fuzzy Belvedere. Now, look, again, this is one of those conversations that make you go, right? Now, right after the Xbox game showcase, Tom Warren, as he's done before, dropped a pretty large nugget that, according to his sources, Gears of War E-Day and the Coalition were targeting 2025. Now, a lot of us, especially me, was like, well, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for 2025 because the 20th anniversary is 2026. So why not save that for then? And then we had a story drop from PureXbox.com. It was written by Ben Kerry. It was posted this past Tuesday. And it says the Coalition continues to hype up Gears of War E-Day with new messaging in Gears 5. So the story says this: Emergence Day is upon us, folks. Xbox developer The Coalition is going back to the roots of Gears with Gears of War E-Day. And as the hype for it continues, the team has started acknowledging the upcoming sequel within Gears 5. Now, this is what it says, folks. This is verbatim from the message from the Coalition in Gears 5 that you can find right now. Emergence begins. Experience the brutal horror of Emergence Day through the eyes of Marcus Phoenix in the original story of one of game's most acclaimed sagas. 14 years before Gears of War, war heroes Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago return home to face a new nightmare, the Locust Horde. These subterranean monsters, grotesque and relentless, erupt from below, laying siege to the humanity itself. Built from the ground up with Unreal Engine 5, Gears of War E-Day delivers unprecedented graphical fidelity. Now, this is where I start to play detective because, ladies and gentlemen, if this is in fact a 2026 game, I don't know how it makes sense to do this kind of advertising for it now. Now, that changes, Fuzzy Belvedere, when you consider that the rumor, according to Tom, was that this was expected to release even before Fable, which has been confirmed for next year. So I don't know when Fable is, what they're targeting. Is it October? Is it November? It's probably going to be in the holiday. But if Tom's source is right, and this, in fact, is releasing before it, this last statement says that the game is built from the ground up with Unreal Engine 5. Gears of War E-Day delivers unprecedented graphical fidelity. I'm not saying the game is done. I'm saying the game is very far along, which again suggests that Tom Warren's connection or his source is right on the money with a 2025 release. Now, here's the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Why would they release E-Day in 2025 when the 20th anniversary is in 2026, which is expected to be the launch of the new Xbox console? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the rumored and the phantom that everyone's been talking about, including myself, the Gears of War collection. Think about this for a second, Fuzzy. You release Gears of War E-Day in 2025, and we get an understanding as to what E-Day is. We've read about it. They've talked about it in the game, but we're going to experience it for ourselves as gamers. We're going to play it. 2026 rolls around. You drop your trilogy of Gears 1, 2, and 3 done in Unreal Engine 5. I think that makes sense. What do you think?
I do like your theory on that as far as the 2025 for E-Day and 2026 you release the collection, because it's sequential and it brings everything back to the original. Like you get the tried and true fans excited because it's the story that got them hooked on the game, or basically the prequel to what got them hooked on the game. And then for all of those that are new to the franchise, that like collection would actually be probably the best way to tackle it, as opposed to trying to play the older games through back and pat and stuff, which some people might have the older 360 titles, or if they're subscribed to Game Pass, they'll have access to them. But having it where you just played this Unreal Engine 5 E-Day game, having the even though the back and pat, they up-res and better frame rate and everything, it would almost be like taking a step back. So having it where it's refreshed, a remake in Unreal Engine 5 as well, makes perfect sense. And then by that point, when people complete the trilogy and E-Day, they can talk about Gear 6. But I was thinking about something that we talked about on One Point last night, where I guess there's a few like conspiracy theories going out there about how on the Xbox showcase, 3 games in particular didn't show like a release date or year or anything. Everything else either had a year or like a window or date of some kind, but it was Gears of War E-Day. It was also Perfect Dark, and then State of Decay 3. I'm kind of the mindset that I still think Gears of War E-Day is 2026.
Okay.
It could be 2025. Like, and the same thing is with Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3. Although I've always thought State of Decay 3 was probably further behind than all of the other titles. And I think this is part of the problem that Matt Booty talked about in 2022, where it's like we have this flow chart of all these games and we just got to figure out where to put them, kind of thing. And the thing I was thinking is, well, if you save that as a launch title for the next gen, which we know is coming in 2026, whether it's early or late, like holiday, and I kind of want to believe that maybe we get the handheld before we get the primary box in 2026. I think they stagger them a little bit, do like Nintendo, release the handheld in like the spring or something like that, and then do the big boy console close to holidays or something along those lines. But I think there was some internal stuff where it's like, okay, which would have the greater impact, or which would piss off people less? Like if we held Fable, as much as people are excited for, if we held Fable as a launch title, people would feel like, oh, that's BS. Why did you wait so long? It should have been ready, blah, blah, blah. I think letting that one release during this current gen, and then saving something like Perfect Dark and E-Day for 2026, even though they'll still be cross-gen. If you have a series console, you'll still be able to play them. If you have an Xbox One, you may have to do the cloud streaming. But I think they're not sure if everything is going to land properly. And I think they rather let some of these games possibly have that opportunity for additional polishing. I mean, not that Coalition is in need of that. Their games come out polished each and every time. But I think they're trying to group things where it's like, well, if we do this and don't put like a release date, well, we'll still keep it cross-gen, but that will have more of an impact saying, well, this is a next-gen title. Oh, by the way, you can still play it on your series consoles in small print. So they'll pull like a PlayStation after that announcement kind of thing. But I think either plan would work great. I think, Boom, your plan, as far as how you look at it, would probably be the better fan service and probably the better onboarding for new people to the franchise. But I kind of wonder if maybe they didn't think that originally, or at least I know I didn't think of that originally. But like I definitely see it will land perfectly either way you put it. Whether it's in 2025, people will be excited. Have something like the collection for 2026 that will continue that excitement and bring more people into that franchise. if they will hold it until 2026, it's a hell of a launch title. Sure, cross-gen, that's great. Us series console owners that may not hop on the next gen day one, we still get to play it, and then we'll get to play it again when we do hop onto the next gen as well. But either way, they can't lose. But I just kind of feel like they're probably playing around with, well, what lands with what, and let's try not to like overlap or
Yeah.
overkill stuff. Because like the other thing we have to think about, we know that they're working on something new for Halo, so
Yes.
they're probably thinking in the background, well, do we release Halo before Gears, or do we release Gears before Halo? We don't want to put them in the same year. I mean, you could, and it would probably be fine, but why not ride that hype train all the way through, where year after year you have your biggest titles? Oh, by the way, you also have Call of Duty dropping as well.
Yeah.
And
Someone said that in the
that.
chat.
So
Yeah. No. I mean, listen, you make great points, Buzzy. And again, I'm not saying that this is an absolute thing. I saw a lot of people like pushing back on it. Look, if it's 2026, then it's 2026. I'm just saying that when you consider how this thing could play out, Silent Cypher, E-Day is 14 years before Gears 1, 2, and 3, right? We know that's probably going to take place in a couple of days, and it's going to roll right into, I would imagine there's going to be Emergence Day, a middle, and an end, and that end is going to roll you right into Marcus going into prison, right? We're going to get a chance to see him abandon his post to go save his pops, and that's where it's going to end, right? Makes sense. I'm just saying, I know there's a lot of people pushing back on the Gears of War trilogy not being real. Okay, you believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to fight you on it. I know what I was told. I know who told it to me, and I'm going to stay sure. Again, if I gotta bend the knee and be like, hey, I got it wrong because my source was wrong, then I will in fact do that without giving away my source, because I'm a man. When you get it wrong, you get out in front and you deal with the arrows. But that's not what I was told. I was told that this thing exists. Now, Silent Cypher, again, I could be 1,000% wrong, but we were told by Tom Warren, who has gotten it wrong, but he's also gotten it right, that they were originally targeting 2025. Hearing that, what it says to me is, what happens? Because this is the thing. Let's just say that you are finding Xbox a year from now or now, and you go and you play E-Day. Yes, it is the introduction into Gears of War. It's how it started. Who are these characters? How do you ask your new player to then equate this character or these characters and move on to Gears of War 6? Like, you gotta have a middle there. And I understand that you can go and play the old Gears trilogy, but is anyone actually gonna go out and seek that out? I don't think so. You bring it to them. You put out E-Day in 2025. You set up for the new release of a new console in 26, and in 26, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of not only Gears of War, but your new console, you release an Unreal Engine 5 version, not a remaster, a full-on remake, Resident Evil 2 style, where you add things that were cut from the floor when they were producing this, because the 360 only had so much memory, and you do it in Unreal Engine 5. To me, it seems like a perfect plan, but I'm also not a designer. What are your thoughts, man? Because again, Silent, why advertise now in Gears 5? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you that I feel like that timeline makes a lot of sense. Obviously, like, you drop E-Day, the beginning of this story with these characters, you shift into that trilogy pack, the Marcus Phoenix collection, and then you have that access to the future games, right? Like, you're literally, I feel like the E-Day, from what we saw and from the vibes that we got with that, it pulled at those heartstrings and it pulled on those emotions the same
It
way
did.
that we, saw when we saw that original trailer for the original Gears. And I feel like this is kind of like a shift back to form for Gears. And I think this would be a really good way for them to infuse a lot of hype and excitement for that brand again in the Xbox ecosystem and get a lot of people involved that, I mean, let's face it, we're old. So, like, it's just what it is. But Gears, like you said, shocker, is almost 20 years old now, right? So, a lot of people, probably a whole generation of people, never even played the original games. So if you did it on this timeline, it would make a ton of sense. Um, I think it would be the smart move for sure in a marketing aspect and in promotion aspect. And I did want to touch on, because you mentioned the Marcus Phoenix collection and a bunch of people putting blowback out there being like, it's fake, blah, blah, blah. I understand. I understand people's thoughts on that. I get it, because I can't count how many times we've heard about this thing, but then nothing ever happens. I get it. Things happen. But just like you, I've had enough people that have said that this thing is in existence in some form or fashion to make me think, okay, it does exist. If it doesn't, then okay, fine. Like, I'll take the L. I think ultimately, if it doesn't exist, though, Microsoft gets to take the L for that one, because they're missing a golden opportunity to
Yeah.
introduce their characters to a whole new generation again that never even touched the old games. So whether it exists or not, whatever, I personally think it does. If it doesn't, that sucks. That's a bummer. It's a missed opportunity. But I you get me excited with the idea of 2025 being when we see E-Day. That trailer was so short that usually when I see something like that, it doesn't make me think that thing's coming soon.
Right.
However, that being said, like, we've seen other things happen. We saw Fallout 4 come out within 6 months of them announcing it, right? So things happen in the industry, and they could front load this thing. This thing could be way farther ahead than we think it is. It could easily, be at 2025. And if that happens, I think that would put some major traction and momentum for them, for the brand. But again, I feel like with that, you've got to have that trilogy set that's remastered and graphically glossed back up to bring more people into the original stories as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like that timeline. I agree with you. In like the perfect case scenario, I would love that, and I hope that's how it goes. I hope that Microsoft is lining things up that way, and I hope that they're paying enough attention to how to roll those out. And if they do this, I think it could be a really big win for them.
I agree. Now, I have some context. Again, I'm not trying to prove a point to be right. I'm just putting what I believe are breadcrumbs. So here's the thing. In my scenario where, and again, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to admit it, Korkenstein, but this is how I see things playing out. Just based on information that I have, information that has been put out there, and just some factual information about the coalition themselves. Let me break all of this down for you. 2019 was the last Gears of War game, actually Gears 5. We are now in 2024, right? The next Gears game, if the timeline falls into place, is going to be 2025 holiday. That's a 6-year gap between a Gears of War game. That's a long time. And since then, they've only had one game that has come out that was an expansion in Hivebusters, which was phenomenal. I want to see that continue at some point. But that's 6 years from 2019 Gears 5 to potentially Gears of War E-Day in 2025. Another factoid, right? People can fly, are working on a particular game, and the way it was worded is it's a legacy IP, and they have a $50 million budget. Right now, we understand that People Can Fly made Judgment that a lot of people didn't like. I really enjoyed it, and that's fine. A lot of people did not like it because it wasn't a mainline Gears, and there were a lot of things that were different from it, from your standard Coalition developed game. I hear you, right? They're working on a legacy IP. They have a $50 million budget. I heard people. I've actually talked this with people behind the scenes, like, yeah, but people aren't going to really dig that because they made Judgment. Well, they're not reinventing the wheel, Korkenstein. They are literally taking what is there and they are moving it from Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 5, which supposedly, and I'm not a developer, is doable. You can do that, and it's not going to break the bank, or it's not going to break your mind as a developer. Now, I don't know for sure because I don't develop games, but this is what I was told. If this game comes out for the 20th anniversary of Gears of War, it makes sense to me to have E-Day give you how everything started in 25, and for your launch of your new console, which potentially is going to be new players, you introduce them to Gears 1, 2, and 3 redone in Unreal Engine 5. And again, for some context, why would they advertise E-Day in Gears 5 for something that's potentially 2 years out? Like, that to me, I mean, I get you want to get people excited, but that's a little bit too far. I think it makes sense that you start advertising now for 2025. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, there's multiple ways that this can go about. I kind of have some takes that I don't think a lot of people will be fans of.
Well, no, but that's why we have these conversations. By all means, please.
So I think so. There's two ways that I think this could work out. Either Gears of War Collection is going to come out first in 2025, and they'll save Gears E-Day to really showcase a new console in 2026.
Yep.
Or they'll do E-Day first to build up that hype, get people. Because I mean, look at what it increased over 300%. People jumping back into the Gears of War Ultimate. So or they'll either release E-Day first and then the Gears of War collection. The take I don't think people will agree with is I think Gears of War Ultimate Collection I think it's going to go to PlayStation. And the reason being is they're trying to gain people back into this IP. You don't start a prequel if you're not going to start rebuilding stuff from the ground up again and get people invested. It could just be a really good chance, to get a new title, a new game while you're figuring out the complex storyline of where kind of 5 left into 6. So it could just be buying some time. Buying some time. But I think Gears of War Collection will come, and just that, not E-Day, not 6. They want people to get invested into that series again. And by then, maybe already a year has passed since E-Day came out, or a few months, and people are so excited about it that now people are like, hey, I can play this for $20. I can, on my Amazon Firestick, no less. So that's where I think it's headed. I think they postponed. I think they have Gears ready, but I think because of the backlash of third party, they haven't been able to really adjust. And I think now they're finally in that good spot that they'll be able to say, hey, Gears will come out multi-plat and it won't be that big of an issue. At least I think that's what they're waiting for until they start seeing, hey, this is really working and more people buy onto it. And eventually PlayStation will jump to that to where they're going to start, they're already doing the PC, but they're going to start opening up their ecosystem a lot more, I think. And it'll be more of a common thing versus something that's shock and awe right now. And I think that's what they're waiting because they need that acceptance for a major staple of Xbox to be accepted. So, like I said, it's a very controversial take, but I think that's just where it's headed. They need to get people reinvested into Gears, and they've done so much now with gaining so many people back into the Xbox ecosystem and even to other ecosystems that now if they see they see that works. I mean, who knows what, maybe Master Chief Collection. Now, I think that was rumored. It just makes the most sense. You're going to get people from other ecosystems to buy in to an older IP, and you use the newer games to keep them hooked. And that's how I think. But I mean, I don't know, from a business standpoint, that's how I see it. I know people aren't going to be happy with that. I know a lot of the diehard Xbox people won't be happy with that. But I just, as a business sense, that's just what makes the most sense to me.
I mean, listen, Bill Spencer said in that interview with Ryan McCaffrey during the right after the Xbox Game Showcase that more games are going to be going multi-plat. He didn't specifically say what those games were, but he basically put it out there that yes, more games are in fact going. Facts. Would Gears of War Trilogy with a Marcus Phoenix collection go over? I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Will Forza Horizon 5 potentially make its way over there? That's a possibility as well. I don't know. I think you're onto something about waiting for storms to calm, and Xbox being in a really good place about telling what their multi-platform plans are going to be. Who knows? But just for context, Gears of War 3, folks, if you didn't know, it released in 2011. Right? Gears 1, 2000, I think 2007, I think that was. Gears was 2007. And then obviously 2 was a couple of years after that. That trilogy is old. And yes, you can play it on Game Pass, but it looks incredibly dated. Even Gears of War Ultimate Collection. Like the old, I'm playing it right now. And yes, it plays great, but it looks crazy dated. I mean, like super dated. So, I mean, if you're going to put out Gears E-Day, and you saw what they said, we know it's a coalition. They're going to benchmark Unreal Engine 5. How are you going to ask people to go back to Gears 1, 2, and 3, even in an up-res? People gonna play that? Are they gonna enjoy it? No, they're gonna be turned off by the graphics, because the graphics, as nice as they look, they're old. So again, whether you believe the collection exists or not, I do. I think it makes sense. If you're going to introduce and going back to what Korkenstein says from a business point of view, if you're trying to get customers that maybe never played the trilogy and you're going to put that on PlayStation, not that I agree with it, because I don't agree with that at all. I think that the burger, fries, and shake, as Kay Sante likes to say, needs to stay at Xbox, but that's just me. Look, all I know is that the roadmap for Xbox is is so packed. We as fans, especially consumers for Xbox Game Pass, are going to be eating well for years to come. But that is going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I promised you a 90-minute show, 2 topics, hot button conversation. We had it here. Let me make sure I'm all caught up to date on the super chats, and then we will get everyone out of here. Giggity08. Welcome back, brother, and thank you, of course, for the very generous $5 super chat. He says, imagine if the next Xbox is releasing in 2026. Why wouldn't they want to have Gears, Forza Horizon 6, Call of Duty, maybe Perfect Dark in that release window? Yeah, that would be... I mean, look, Forza Horizon 6 is not coming next year. I don't think it is. I think it's 2026. I think Fuzzy's on to something with that. Gears, whether it be the collection, whether it be E-Day, 2026. No talk of Halo. Halo's not this year. Halo's not next year. Halo's probably going to be 2026. Could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen? Think about this for a second. I know that it's unthinkable. Having the Trinity launch on your new Xbox. Like, talk about starting the generation off on both feet. You have a Halo, you have a Gears, and you have a Forza to launch with your new console. It's never been done. The same way 17 first-party games were never in any one show. That mold has been broken. Xbox broke that mold this past a couple of Sundays ago. Look, again, if I'm wrong about the Gears of War collection. I don't think I am. I think that if you're going to introduce people to, because you got to remember, is Coltrane and Baird going to be in E-Day? I don't know. I don't know when they met them, because we know of those characters. I know who those characters are, but someone who's new to Gears of War may not. So how do you introduce them? Are they definitely going to be? I don't know. They didn't mention them in that write-up. It's simply just Dom and Marcus, and that's a story. But we'll see. Look, a big thank you to all the super chats that came in. A big thank you for all of the tremendous support and really, really kind messages that I get when I put these videos out, when I do these live shows. A lot of people are really enjoying it. Of course, you're going to get trolls, but you put those people on the pay no mind list. I want to get everyone out of here so I can go pick up my nephew, Tyler, who is waiting for me to go get him at noon. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get you out of here. Brother, tell everyone where they can find you on social media, but more importantly, subscribe to the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre on your YouTube channel.
Well, as always, thank you for having me on here. Always awesome being on here with you, Boom, Korkenstein, and Silent Cypher. Always greatly appreciate hearing your thoughts and feedback and input on everything gaming related. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Love interacting with you guys. Greatly appreciate all the kind words and some of the conversation we've been having in the chat. Always appreciate you guys checking us out and staying tuned and watching us. Greatly appreciate it. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also search on YouTube for Fuzzy Belvedere, all together, one word. You'll be able to find my YouTube. You can also find me on other podcasts. Like later on tonight, you'll be able to find me on Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fun Speculations channel. This Saturday, Shop Podcast is coming back, so be on the lookout for me, PTK Blam, and Pong Soul with Infinite Umbra and Slow Mo Backslap as our guests at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Saturday night. And then me and 3-Bit return on Sunday for Pixelated Echoes at 8:30 on Sunday. And then look forward to having everybody here in the chat join us here on Double Barrel Gaming, 12 noon on Monday for Xbox Lunch Break Special. Hope to see you guys then.
Thank you very much, brother. Super appreciate that. And shout out to PTK Blam. Glad that the Shop Podcast is coming back. Love what you guys do over there. Silent Cypher, brother, let's sell the brand of the Xbox International Podcast, where you, Crazy Lou Gaming, and the rest of the crazy crew break it down each and every week. And of course, there is a version in Spanish that I think a lot of people don't know about, and I want to talk about, because again, if you're only a Spanish-speaking gamer, well, they have a podcast for you, which is pretty dope. Brother, sell the brand of those two podcasts, but more importantly, where can people find you on social media?
Awesome. Well, Boom, thank you so much for having me. Fuzzy, Korkenstein, it was great to be hanging out with you guys again. Yeah, as far as where you can find me all over social media as Silent Cypher. I've been a little absent. I kept planning on adding some more stuff, and then vacation happened, and I'm playing catch up right now. But you can find me all over the place on there. You can find me on Wednesday nights at Xbox International Podcast at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as Boom mentioned, you can also find our Espanol podcast on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be dropping the links in the chat for those. Chat, you guys were freaking awesome today. It was quite a conversation. I know not everyone always agrees with our takes on this, and that's great, because honestly, like, that's where we get the conversation. And I think whether or not we all agree on all this stuff, I think the thing we can agree on is no matter what happens with this, be a game coming out now or later, or not every game being legit, we're all going to have fun. We're all going to be playing a ton of games this year and moving forward. And also shout out to Paris Lilly for jumping on and hanging out with us at the beginning of the show. That was fun. It was good to hear his take on that, and I look forward to his Avowed coverage here in a little bit. With Xbox International, if you're bored and you want to go pester my brother Crazy Louie, he is actually streaming right now. So when you jump off here, go pester him. Go tell him Silent Cypher says hi, and tell him that painting behind him is haunted, because it is, and one of these days it's going to take him, and we will all wonder where Crazy Louie went. But thank you again, as always, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks.
Indeed, brother. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And Korkenstein, let's sell your brand because you have a very interesting way of podcasting. You have a podcast that bases its conversation on the food, which is pretty freaking cool. Love that you're doing these things. Where can people subscribe to that YouTube channel? What else you got going on? And more importantly, where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I am branching out and starting a content creator kind of thing for Korkenstein Gaming. That's still in its infancy, so I'm just working on some videos and like assets, graphic stuff. But you can also find me, like you said, Game Pass Gumbo. We had a slight issue with YouTube last week, and we weren't able to shoot our episode 5. But we'll be talking about the Summer Games Fest, the E3 week. I know it's a little past, but we'll be talking about that. And since it's summer, we're going to talk about barbecue associated with that. So tune in. I think we're going to try and shoot for that this weekend. I just don't know exactly when yet. We're trying to get all of our schedules aligned. And then I think I'll be on Web Dave's Gamer Council this Sunday as well. So
nice.
I may be joining him there. But yeah, thank you, Boom. Thank you to the community. You guys are been so awesome and welcoming, even with, like I said, my radical takes. But yeah, thank you, Silent Cypher, Fuzzy, and Boom. You guys always amazing. You guys keep it real, and I love that.
Well, we love you, brother. And thank you so much for being a part of the show, joining and being a part of the panel. A big thank you to, well over 1,100 live viewers. Now, of course, that's not just on YouTube. That is a combination of YouTube and live from Twitter, which is freaking crazy that that's actually a thing. But yeah, it's a thing. We had 1,100 people here. Super stoked for that. A couple super chats that popped in here. I'm going to get that before we do the final outro. CYV Studio drops not one but two $5 super chats, and the first one says, Gears of War is my favorite franchise of all time. I want E-Day first, then they need to make a trilogy before getting to the old trilogy timeline. I mean, that's interesting. We don't even know whether or not this new Gears is the start of a trilogy. It very well could be, which would be pretty dope. Is it a one-shot? I don't know. They're not saying, but stick around. We're going to find out soon enough. And his second super chat of $5 says, it doesn't make sense to make only one game with E-Day content. It took 3 years for the first trilogy, and that how 14 years can only give us one game. I mean, again, that's a great point. Is it going to be the start of a new trilogy? Quite possibly. Xbox expansion pass, and that is my very good friend Luke Lore, Halo master Halo player. Luke, shout out to you. If you didn't know who he was, well, you should be subscribed to the Xbox expansion pass because he sat down literally the day after the E-Day announcement with Cliffy B, and that interview was amazing and blew up for him. Real proud of the work that he does. Real, genuine human being. So please subscribe to the Xbox expansion pass. And he drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, awesome panel. Well, not as awesome as you, Luke. So thank you so much for being here, brother. And of course, a big thank you once again. A quick note. We are doing a Christmas in July event the second week when Silent Cypher comes back for on a Breakfast with Boom. Mrs. Boom and she had put these prize packs that we gave away at the live event to, just random people we ran into that, hey, Mr. Boomstick, here's a prize. That's what we did. Well, we have a bunch of extra ones. So we have, I'm pretty sure we have 5. We might actually have a few more, but we're saying that we're giving away 5. These prize packs include, a bunch, books, stickers, a cap with the Double Barrel Gaming logo on it. We are including I'm trying to get my hands on 5 additional Gears of War E-Day coins. I think I've acquired them. And if I did, each one of those prize packs are getting one of those very limited edition coins. But we're also adding a $25 Xbox gift card in each one of those prize packs. And all you got to do to win, ladies and gentlemen, is be in the live chat, put the hashtag into the live chat. We let the picker pick. And then if you are outside of the US, we can't guarantee that you will get the prize because of the shipping costs. We will work something out. Maybe we can send you a gift card instead, but we will definitely try to send those to our international fans as well. And of course, that's happening in 2 weeks, the middle of July. I believe it's the second week in July. We'll be doing our annual Christmas in July event. And of course, channel members get the first half of those prizes. So the first 3 winners are going to be channel members. If you're not a channel member, you have a shot after the channel members win, because it's what we do. It's if you're going to support the channel, we got to support you as well. So that is that. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.